Well, I certainly can't say I'm disappointed. Yep, I saw Borderlands, something that many people probably would have advised against, because this movie has just been getting terrible reviews. Like, it is genuinely lower than Madam Web. I think it is the lowest of any major movie that has come out this year, and I can safely say it is 100% warranted, because this movie sucked. It was so bad. Like, I know next to nothing about Borderlands. Like, I've seen a few reviews of it, but like, I've never played any of the actual games. If you showed me like footage of it or whatever, I could definitely point out what it was, but like, in terms of like the lore and story and characters and stuff, I can only name 3 total characters. I know Claptrap, Tina, and Handsome Jack, who's not even in this movie. So yeah, my knowledge is insanely limited, but even I can tell, as an adaptation, this is really bad, and as a standalone film, it's also really bad. I mean, just wow. I mean, I'm pretty sure this movie's been in development for like years at this point, and well, I definitely learned that with video game movies especially, if they have a very long development cycle, chances are it's gonna blow. Like, I know Uncharted a few years ago had a really long development cycle, and I didn't see that, but I heard bad things, and this is another example, and yeah, it was very, very, very bad. So, what is this movie actually about? Well, it opens on this planet called Pandora, at least I think that's what the name is, and we see this girl who's held hostage, later revealed to be Tiny Tina, who's, again, like I said, is one of the 3 characters from the game I actually know, and she's seemingly kidnapped by this, like, bounty hunter or soldier or whatever, played by Kevin Hart. I don't remember his name, but quite frankly, it's not important. It is clearly just Kevin Hart. So, he takes her, and then her quote-unquote father, Atlas is his name, hires a bounty hunter named Lilith, who is the main character, to go to Pandora, find Tina, and bring her back to him. And yeah, that's basically the gist of it at first. However, she then quickly arrives on Pandora, which apparently she was born on, but again, they don't really go too much in with that. We do get a little bit of her backstory later, but it's nothing crazy. She finds this robot named Claptrap, again, one of the only other characters I actually know about, who was apparently programmed to wait for her to arrive there. Yeah, kind of ridiculous, but anyway, so he joins her, they end up finding Tina, who reveals that she doesn't actually want to go back to Atlas because he genetically engineered her to be the child of an Iridian, I think is what it was called. I don't know exactly what those are, I think they're like aliens or whatever, but like, it is not explained well at all, to open this mysterious vault that is said to lie on Pandora, and what's actually in the vault? I don't know. It is literally never explained what is actually in the vault. Is it money? Is it power? Is it some sort of weapon? I have no idea. If it was, it clearly wasn't explained well, because, yeah, I cannot tell you what they're actually after. But all that's important is that Tina obviously doesn't want to go back to Atlas, so Lilith, there on a dime, like, betrays him, and so she and Claptrap join Tina, Kevin Hart's character, and this other guy who I don't remember the name of. He's like this big muscular dude in a mask. Again, he's not important. He doesn't talk. And yeah, they just go off on to try and find the keys to the vault themselves, and that's about it, really. As I'm sure you can tell, the story is insanely generic and not very interesting at all. This is a story we have seen done many, many times before. It's not explained well. The world is not defined or interesting at all. It is very much just a generic desert wasteland planet. This is no different than Tatooine from Star Wars or Arrakis from Dune. Like, it is one of the most bland and uninteresting worlds I have ever seen in my life. There's a few kinda interesting ideas, but again, they've been done plenty of times before. Like, they go to this bar full of a bunch of, like, tough people or whatever, and other bounty hunters and stuff. Yeah, we've seen that plenty of times before. There's this, like, weird cult or whatever that is, like, obsessed with being strong or whatever. Again, we've seen stuff like that before. Like, it doesn't do anything interesting at all, and the characters are not much better. Lilith is a very bland, very uninteresting protagonist. She's slightly snarky and stuff, but, like, there's no really interesting personality traits to her whatsoever. None of the other characters stand out at all. Kevin Hart is basically just Kevin Hart. Like I said, the muscular dude in the mask barely even talks, so we know basically nothing about him. And Atlas is a super boring villain. I think he genuinely has less than 7 minutes of screen time total. He does almost nothing throughout the majority of the movie. I do not care about this guy at all. And then there's Tina. I feel kind of bad, because, like, I know that actress who's played her has done some good stuff. Like, I believe she was young Gamora in Avengers Infinity War, so I feel like she has some talent, but this is clearly a character that either does not translate to live action well at all, or if it does, you need both a good script and a good performance. Like, because, like, her whole thing is that she's, you know, like a 14, 15-year-old girl, but she's, you know, really psychotic or whatever. Like, she has a bunch of stuffed animals that have explosives in them that she uses to blow that stuff up, and again, that's a fun idea, and, you know, she's, again, supposed to be like this young girl who's really sadistic and loves destroying things and stuff, but God, she is just so annoying in this movie. Again, I don't know if it's the writing or the performance or the directing or whatever, but God, I just could not stand her. The movie as a whole just has such a bad script. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is just awful. Most of the jokes in this movie are painful. They are just so not funny. She is probably one of the worst offenders to this, but again, there are a bunch of other characters like Lilith and Kevin Hart's character and a bunch of other ones who get all these like quirky one-liners and stuff, and they almost never get a laugh. I saw this in the theater, which wasn't completely empty. It had more people than I was expecting, but even then, it was dead silent throughout the majority of the movie. It was just so bad. I feel kind of bad because I feel like this movie has a decent cast on paper. Like I said, Lilith is played by Kate Blanchett, who's done some good stuff. Again, Tina's actress is fine. I like Kevin Hart. I know a lot of people don't, but I think he's fine enough in some places. Jamie Lee Curtis shows up at one point. She's really great and stuff. But again, the script is just so bad and so uninteresting. They literally have nothing to work with. It just, even some of the most talented actors just have almost nothing. It doesn't work at all. And this movie also doesn't work as a turn your brain off and have fun, because the action is so bad. The editing and the cinematography is awful. It cuts like every 2 seconds, and you barely get to see what is actually happening. It is just the way it's framed, the way it's shot, the way it's edited. It is just so bad. And even the effects themselves are meh at best. They're nothing interesting. I mean, I guess the production design of the planet is okay, but again, it's not an interesting world, so it doesn't really feel like you're enjoying yourself being there. There is just almost nothing that this movie has going for it. Now, I do say almost because there is one character I made sure not to mention earlier when I said the characters don't work, and it is this movie's only saving grace, and that is Claptrap. He is voiced by Jack Black, and I swear, he is the only actor that actually knows what he's doing, and he's the only character that the writers actually knew what to do with, because he is legit really funny in this movie. Like, he clearly does not want to be paired up with Lilith and stuff, so he frequently constantly makes jokes about how he doesn't like her and how cynical and annoying she can be, and at one point when he thinks she dies, he literally just starts like cheering and celebrating. Like, he is the only part of the movie that actually got a laugh, not just from me, but from pretty much everyone else in the audience. He is the one saving grace that this movie actually has. But while I said the cast was a good idea on paper, for this movie in particular, it doesn't work, not just because of the script, but also, I've spoken with a few of my friends who have played Borderlands, and apparently most of the characters or whatever are supposed to be in their, like, early to mid-20s, something like that, you know, fairly young, whereas most of these actors are in their, like, late 30s, 40s, sometimes, again, Jamie Lee Curtis is in her 60s, like, they're significantly older than their characters are supposed to be. Again, I've never played the game, so this is just me going from what I've heard, but yeah, it is pretty understandable, because they do not feel interesting at all, so I assume they're better in the games. And of course, the third act of this movie just sucks. Of course, we get this stupid, forced misunderstanding between Lilith and Tina. It is ridiculous. I hate it. I audibly groaned when they started it out, and the climax is insanely lame. The action's rushed. When we actually see the vault, it's insanely lame. There's a plot twist that I almost immediately saw coming. It is just so bland, so underwhelming, and not fun. It's a shame, because with the little knowledge I have of Borderlands, I feel like this could have been a decent enough turn your brain off and have fun kind of movie, but it just doesn't work in any capacity. The story sucks, the characters aren't interesting, the comedy is awful, the action is bad. It is just an all-around really, really bad movie. It blows. I would warn you not to see it, but quite frankly, I don't think I have to, because this movie is freaking tanking in theaters. It is one of, if not this year's biggest box office bomb, and I can easily see why. It has almost nothing going for it, and quite frankly, I think I could say with confidence, it is the worst film I have ever seen in a theater in my entire life. Yeah, it is that bad, and I have no shame in giving Borderlands a 2 out of 10.